Hello everyone! As you can see, I'm back working in World of Flowers today, and we're going to do another one of these little shelves. Now I was going to go ahead and do the two upper ones, but I'm running very short of time today, so I'm just going to do the very top one, and we'll leave those little tiny ones for another time. So let's get started. As usual, I'm going to be using my Polychromos pencils. I've also got two Sakura Jelly Roll pencils, pens, the 05 and the 08 that I'll be using today. So I'm going to start with not the actual background today, but I want to add in a little bit more greenery on this little wreath. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some May green just sort of around those little stems that are around the center, and then we're going to build on top of that afterwards. Now I do apologize, I managed to put the viewfinder almost like in the center of this picture, so it keeps going out of focus, so I do apologize for that. I have tried to cut certain spots. You'll see whenever I'm down the sort of bottom left there, I keep cutting out. Just keep doing the same thing around the whole wreath for all of the steps. So even though I might skip a little bit of that bottom left corner just because it kept going in and out of focus, and that's not overly fun to watch. So now that I've got a layer of May green down the bottom, I'm going to start going in with my permanent green olive, and I'm going to start to make some little pine branches coming out. So it's more so like the little twigs rather than huge branches, but I just really felt like this wreath needed to be greened up a whole lot more, so that's what I decided to put in. So I'm just going in with sort of one line and then lots of little pine needles poking out from that one line on either side. So you can just go ahead and do that around the whole circle. I'll show this whole video in real time, by the way. I'm not going to speed up anything, it's just that I've mentioned before that I've cut some of those times where the viewfinder kept going in and out of focus. So I'm going to go in now with my Sakura Jelly Roll number 08. It's a little bit thicker than the 05 that I tend to use a lot of, but for what I'm using it for now, it will work perfect. So I'm just going to try and reduce down some of the lines on these sort of branches or sticks or whatever it is that they've sort of used as the base for this wreath, because I want to make it a little bit more green without those lines there, and then I'll still have a little bit of lines there, so I'm not going to get, you know, completely get rid of them, but I just want to really tone them down a lot so that they're not so prominent, just because I've obviously added those little pine branches there, so you'd think that they would overlap a little bit more compared to those leaves that we've got. So now I'm going to go over those little pine branches again with my Juniper Green. So I'm just going to keep sort of getting darker and darker, and that way I have all those lighter colours shining through from underneath, and then we can sort of add in a little bit more shading and a bit more depth, and it should look really cool by the time we're finished. So going in now with my Chrome Oxide Green, I'm not going to be taking this all the way out to the tips, but I'm going to sort of focus it in towards sort of the start of each little branch, and it will just sort of help a little bit with the shading, and then when we build up a little bit more as we go along, it should look really nice. So I'm going to get started on the leaves now. So I'm going to go in with my earth green yellowish, and I'm just going to take this onto the tips of each of the leaves. I'm not taking it all the way down to the bottom because I want those bases to be a little bit darker, so I don't want the light base underneath. I want the dark color that I'm using to properly be able to take onto the paper without being sort of reduced down. So I'm just using it, as you can see, just at the front, wherever I'm thinking there's going to be a little bit of a highlight. So for the bases of each leaf, I'm now going to go in with my Juniper Green, although I'm still kind of having a little bit of a gap between that earth green yellowish and that Juniper Green. So if you even leave a little bit of a white space between, especially on those bigger leaves, you can do that. So I'm kind of focusing this Juniper Green on where I want sort of more so shadows. So where any of the leaves sort of overlap each other around sort of the base of each leaf and so on. So I'm just using my permanent green olive for my mid-tone here. Again, I'll still leave a little bit of white, but I'm trying to use this to sort of blend in between the Juniper Green and the Earth Green Yellowish. And I'm thinking I might go in with maybe the Naples Yellow just on those highlighted areas as well. So I'm going to go in with the Chrome Oxide Green again and just sort of start darkening up even more. So I'm doing this on both the little pine branches as well as the leaves, just to sort of get a little bit more shadow, and I might even put a little bit onto those sort of, I don't know if I can call it twigs, the sort of the base of the wreath, those little lines that we whited out with the Sakura jelly roll before. I'll see what I'll do. I might add a little bit. If you are adding something onto that Sakura jelly roll, just be really careful so you don't press down too hard, because it will start sort of wearing off after a while. So try to go in between if you can, or just really gently over the top. If you're enjoying this video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, I would love to have you subscribe, and don't forget to click that little bell notification symbol so that you'll get notified every time I post a new video. So now that we've got a little bit of the green down on those sort of twigs or things that goes around and makes the circle, I'm also going to add in a little bit of brown sort of in between. So I'm kind of thinking that they are like twigs or something like that, that we've then used maybe like wire or something, a florist wire or florist tape to then add on to or to attach the greenery. So I'm sort of thinking that probably here and there might be a little bit of that brown that shines through in between the greens. So I'm just adding that a little bit sort of sporadically here and there wherever I feel like it needs it. So now it's time to add in my black. So I'm just going to use this for any area that I want to have sort of really dark and shaded. So I'm going down the base of the leaves, or the overlaps are the base of the little pine twigs and pine branches, and yeah, anywhere where I feel like it's going to be darker. So I decided to go ahead and add a few more berries to this wreath, but I kind of want them to look like they are sort of sitting behind a little bit and not poking out at the front. So I'm just sort of going in between the green, just adding a little bit of the burnt carmine, and that way it kind of looks like there's something there in the background and it's not just completely white. So it's time to start with the background. I've decided to go with the Naples Yellows and the light yellow ochre for this one. So I'm just going to start out with the Naples Yellow. I know it doesn't show up super well on camera, but you should start seeing it sort of as I'm getting most of the layers down. So I'll do first a full layer of the Naples Yellow, and then I'll start building up the shadows using the dark Naples Yellow and the light yellow ochre, and I might go in with the burnt ochre as well, and maybe some burnt umber for the shadows. So I know I said dark Naples Yellow, but it is in fact the dark Naples Ochre that I mean. There's obviously no dark Naples Yellow in this set at all, but I'm sure you knew what I meant anyway. So right here I forgot to show you that I changed my pencil, but I'm now onto the light yellow ochre, and I'm just working on, especially sort of around the corners and the edges of this little square, and then sort of around just on the inside, I reckon, of the wreath, and on the right hand side of the wreath. So I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit using the Naples Yellow again, and then I'm going to go in and I think just darken up some of these shadows using the burnt umber. So I'm just going to go in now with my Sakura Jelly Roll 05, and I'm just going to reduce down some of these outlines on the leaves. And there you go, there is our finished wreath. Kind of looks a little bit Christmassy, don't you think? So maybe we can call this Christmas in July? Maybe. Anyway, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I like those little pine branches that we added in there. I hope you enjoyed colouring along and adding some pine branches of your own. So I wish you all a colourful day, and I will see you again next time.